Hey, RetconRaider here. Today's video is dedicated to Drakiith. Thanks for your continued support. That said, let's get started. And welcome back to Pathfinder Kingmaker. Now, we'll be getting back to the old Sycamore in a few days, but today, I thought we'd spend some more time getting to know another one of our party members. I've actually enjoyed working on these mini-episodes, so I'm looking forward to working on more of them in the future. Of course, there are only 12 companions, so eventually we will run out of people to talk to, but in the meantime, let's pick things up today by getting to know Harrim, the party's token nihilistic dwarf. Harrim pulls his beard, muttering something that could be either prayers or curses. Upon noticing you, he winces. Eh, what? Ah, it's you, Silverleaf. Did I startle you? I'm sorry. Oh no, that doesn't matter. I was just contemplating the futility of existence and the worthlessness of the universe. The ways of Groetus are great. My humble mortal mind cannot fully grasp them, but I do what I can. Harrim smiles apologetically. Tell me about your past. My life is divided into two parts. The first was filled with blind wandering, doubts, and attempts to serve Torag. The second part began when I accepted Groetus into my soul and received a clear vision of the world. What exactly would you like to know? Where are you from? My life story began in Larad, a city of dwarven clerics and acolytes. They served Torag and the other dwarven gods. Torag's brothers Angrad and Magrum, Torag's wife Folgrit, his daughter Bolka, his sons Grundinar, Coles, and Trud, and also Torag's sister, Drangvit. Harrim curves his lips in contempt. I wouldn't be surprised if they built a temple to Torag's pet dog. Sorry, I let myself get carried away. Harrim sighs and pulls his beard several times. Larad is the second largest dwarven city in the Five Kings Mountains. It's built up around numerous temple caverns, which serve as places of worship for all the dwarven gods. Many pilgrims from every corner of Golarion come to Larad to pray to their gods. Some remain to live there. This city is simply imbued with faith. You can't swing a dead cat without hitting a cleric. It's no surprise, inspired by the aura of this city, that I decided as a young boy to dedicate all my efforts to becoming a cleric of Torag. You once tried to serve Torag. Not just tried, it was a burning passion. I craved it by day and dreamt of it at night. Harrim shakes his head, as if amazed by his own stupidity. You see, Silverleaf, from my first days I felt the presence of the god at my back. I heard his whispers and felt his power, though the nature of this power was unclear to me. I thought Torag himself was trying to speak to me, and I did all I could to understand his words. Oh, what a naive fool I was. I had no idea that Torag, that uncompromising, conceited god, glamorized by all dwarves, was capable of betrayal. He turned away from me, Silverleaf. He left me in the hour when I put all my hopes in him and desperately needed his support. Torag is the god of craftsmanship, so every follower, especially the clerics, must smith their own suits of armor. The day when this work is finished is like the second birthday for a dwarf. He's newly born in the eyes of Torag. Harrim sighs heavily and falls silent for a time. My second birthday never came. I couldn't make armor, not even a sword, not even a simple nail. My hammer smashed my fingers and fell on my feet. Molten iron burned my hands. The clerics laughed as they healed me. They used to say I was cursed by Torag. So, finally, I gave up any attempt to please the betrayer god. Even if Torag really has rejected you, is that enough reason to leave your homeland? You don't know much about dwarves. Harrim lets out a sad sigh. How can a dwarf cursed by Torag go on living in a city where every single soul bows to Torag? I was alone, disgraced, humiliated, insulted. A lone tear glints in the light before sliding down Harrim's cheek and hiding in his beard. I was trying to drown my sorrows in drink, but even the owner of the cheapest pub on the road would laugh at me while he put those mugs in front of me. I couldn't take it any longer. I wanted everything to end. But there was one thing that kept me going and prevented me from ending my life. I could still hear that divine whisper behind my back. It was yet faint. It took a long time before I could hear it clearly, but having heard it once, I could never forget it. It was clear that none of Lorad's deities favored me, so I left the Five Kings Mountains and went out searching. I didn't think dwarves ever worshipped Groetus. How did you learn about him? Oh, but that blessed day was the beginning of a new life. Alone and abandoned by all, I spent many dull hours in a filthy tavern by the roadside. I don't recall the town, nor even the country. I had no money. In fact, all I had was a hunk of stale bread. I was weary and almost fainting from hunger. And that was the moment when the whisper from my god became more clear. It was like he was calling me. At last, my sufferings had come to an end. It was a miracle, Silverleaf, and I had paid full price for it with my torments. I couldn't control myself. I walked out of the tavern and straight into the nearest forest, and there I found the ruined temple of Eroden, the lost god. Several figures clad in robes were holding a silent service there, a service to a god I knew nothing of. None minded when I stood beside them. For the first time in my life, I felt myself at home. My new brothers told me that they were clerics of Groetus, the god of end times. They were traveling around Golarion, spreading the teachings of Groetus, despite all the persecution, contempt, and misjudgment they received from others. I gladly shared this burden with them, for now I knew whose voice had whispered to me through all those years. Wait, so you couldn't make even a simple nail, and you blamed Torag? Are you suggesting that my problem was not a curse, just my own inability to work with metal? Or maybe you're saying that I was just too lazy? Harrim looks into your eyes defiantly, his hands trembling with suppressed rage as he runs his fingers over his beard. You're a fool if you think so, an ignorant fool. Have you ever met a dwarf who can't handle a smith's hammer? Even our children craft knives. No, no, no. Torag is the cause of my sufferings. The betrayer god deliberately cursed me, just to make a laughingstock of me. Harrim raises his hand and shakes his fist at someone above. But I won't let myself get angry at you, Silverleaf. You're an ignorant and blind soul, and my aim is to guide you through this dying world that marches towards its end. I will open your eyes or die trying. Groetus will be pleased by either outcome. Thank you, Harrim. Let's talk about something else for a while. What else would you like me to tell you, Silverleaf? I'd like to learn more about dwarves. Most dwarves are self-satisfied, stubborn fools, serving Torag. They don't deserve my good attitude. Harrim winces. But you can ask me what you want to know. I'll try to answer. Tell me about the Five Kings Mountains. The Dwarven Kingdom, yes. Well, it's to the south from here. It survived many trials, and there will be more yet to come. Harrim strokes his beard, contemplating. There is no unity among the dwarves, Silverleaf. The Five Kings rule over our people. They sit on the thrones of the 5 greatest cities, and with every passing day it grows harder for them to come to any agreement. The only thing uniting the 5 Kings Mountains is the Sky Citadel of Highhelm, the greatest dwarven fortress at the mountain's heart. Have the dwarves always lived on the surface? Oh, no. Eons ago, all dwarves lived deep beneath the surface, and they did rather well, judging by the historic records. They built fortresses befitting noble dwarves. But our restless god Torag sent us a prophecy, the quest for the sky. He ordered all the dwarves to abandon their fortresses and press upwards, to show their beards to the sun, as they say. This journey was long and bloody. Many dwarves perished on the way. Others turned back, keeping to their ancient strongholds, eventually to turn into evil Dwergar, gray dwarves. But those who survived reached the surface and founded the Sky Citadels, the most glorious cities in dwarven history. Tell me about the Sky Citadels. Oh, they are the peaks of creation. Glorious cities built by the ancient dwarves who'd finally reached the surface after many hardships, performing the final labors in their quest for the sky on the surface of Golarion. Harrim's eyes glitter with admiration. They are steadfast, tall, magnificent. They are beautiful. The 10 citadels were built by dwarves, but we've managed to keep only a few. The citadels crumbled, and the orcs, sworn enemies of our people, trampled their blessed streets and ruined the gorgeous palaces of the ancient kings. Harrim's eyes grow misty with tears. These were heavy losses and a disgrace to our people, Silverleaf. Interesting. Harrim seems to have great respect for his dwarven heritage, despite his hatred of the dwarven gods. Highhelm is the jewel of the citadels that remain. It is located in the heart of the mountains, and the heart of every dwarf. Yes, yes, my heart too. There is a dwarven saying that if an enemy reaches Highhelm, every dwarf from all the corners of the world will come to defend it. Harrim casts a sad glance at you. I'd be there too, but not to help the Citadel's defenders. I'd be there to witness the fall of our people with my own eyes, and mourn it. I would fall upon the cold stone and raise my final prayer to Groetus. All right then. I've some other questions. What else would you like me to tell you? I'd like to talk about your god, Groetus. You wish to learn about Groetus? Harrim seems surprised and pleased at the same time. Yes, of course. I will answer anything you ask. What are Groetus's teachings about, in a nutshell? Groetus is the end of all that exists. Harrim smiles. He's obviously been waiting for this question. Look around, Silverleaf. What do you see? Look again and realize that everything will be destroyed. Our clothing and our armor will turn to dust. The walls of the palace will crumble into ruins. The trees will fall. And you and I will die much sooner than that. Groetus is the Timeless Watcher. He's been locked away by Pharasma, the goddess of rebirth. From her boneyard he watches over the world, knowing the time for the final reaping shall come. He's the bloated moon hanging in the sky. He's the harbinger of the last days. He's the one who will stay when all the others are gone. Pharasma has Groetus locked in her boneyard, so she is stronger than Groetus. Of course she is stronger, for now. Harrim nods with dignity, stroking his beard. Groetus is weaker than Pharasma and many other gods. I would be a fool if I tried to claim otherwise. If Groetus were stronger, the end times would already have come, wouldn't they? Well, I can't argue with that. But the powers of other gods fade away. They dissolve slowly, a grain in a century. Groetus collects those grains and waits. He doesn't need to hurry. He knows that his time shall come. Usually, clerics can speak with their gods. What does Groetus say to you? What is his will? Harrim shakes his head in resignation. Groetus doesn't speak to his clerics. Actually, Groetus doesn't need any clerics. The dwarf raises his sad eyes to you. He only allows his whispers to be heard, and only by those who are dying to hear them. His words are unclear, but they call to you. His voice comes with the soft rustle of fallen leaves, with the woeful wailing wind at the mountain pass, with the roar of the raging blizzard, and it calls you to strike out on the road. Onwards, ever onwards, over the pass, over the bridge, and further along. Up ahead, where the edge of a gray robe flashed, and a candle sputtered for the last time before dying. Onwards, always onwards, until your feet can no longer carry you. Harrim falls silent, submerged in his own thoughts. Thank you for telling me about Groetus. I've learned enough for now. Then let me ask you, what do you think about Groetus? Wow, that's a good question. It was interesting to learn about him. No more, no less. Harrim nods in contentment. I'll be glad to talk with you about Groetus any time, Silverleaf. After all, that's why I travel in your company. Have you ever regretted your decision to abandon Torag and start worshipping Groetus instead? Your question might seem offensive, Silverleaf, but I am not offended. I realize you ask it because you wish to learn more about Groetus. Harrim squeezes his beard in his fist, but in a moment he lets it free again. Torag betrayed me, Silverleaf. All he's ever done was look down with contempt on all my futile efforts to please him. I crafted armor plates, but they fell apart with a single strike of a fist. I smithed swords, but they broke at the hilt. Torag's priests used to say that such failures were the curse of their uncompromising deity. Harrim's fingers grab his beard with such force that it seems he'll tear a handful of hair out of it. It was Groetus that opened my eyes. He showed me that failure is a manifestation of his will. The end time is near, Silverleaf, and every failure is just another step towards it. Torag's curse is only half the reason for my failure. The other half is the blessings of Groetus, which I have borne from early childhood. Harrim smiles warmly at his thoughts. So the short answer to your question is no. I've never regretted opening my soul to Groetus. From what I've heard, Groetus doesn't spare the minds of his clerics. They all go insane eventually. Is that true? Ha! Who told you that? I'd like to look that slanderer in the eye. Harrim bursts into laughter, but you can't understand what's so funny. You see, Silverleaf, sanity is quite a relative concept, Harrim says as his laughter recedes. Each of us is certain that he's the sanest creature in the world. Meanwhile, we periodically doubt the sanity of others. So, what happens if 2 or 3 people claim that someone else is insane? Does that make it true? Perhaps the accusers have lost their minds themselves. The longer a cleric listens to the whispers of Groetus, the better he comprehends the essence of his designs, and the deeper his understanding becomes. When enlightenment comes, the mind of a cleric ascends to a new level of understanding, which is inaccessible to simpler souls. Is it insanity? This is for you to decide, Silverleaf. My decision was made long ago. When I reach enlightenment, I'll accept it with joy and delight. Alright, the obvious good thing to do is to try to convince Harrim that he's on the wrong path, but I actually understand where he's coming from. Well, when you learn Groetus' divine plans, remember to tell me about them. Harrim seems not to hear the irony in your words. Oh, of course I will tell you. I will tell everyone. The word of Groetus will lead us forward unto the inevitable. Thank you for the conversation. We'll talk later. Harrim nods with dignity. I'll be happy to continue our conversation later. Wow, I have to admit, that was actually much more interesting than I was expecting. Harrim is an unusual character, and while it's certainly tempting to just dismiss him as a crackpot, he actually brings up some surprisingly valid points. He also brings up some surprisingly intriguing questions, the biggest of which is, how do you account for personal failures or successes in a world full of gods that are constantly interfering in mortal affairs? Was Harrim actually cursed by Torag or blessed by Groetus, or is he just a terrible blacksmith? More importantly, how would you ever know for certain? Maybe he's right and he's just being manipulated by higher powers. Or maybe he's just deluding himself, trying to explain away his personal failings with what amounts to a divine conspiracy theory. Honestly, he's the sort of character you'd really expect to see more of in a setting like this one, so I'm rather curious to see where his story will end up taking him. Anyway, those are all questions for another time. Be sure to let me know what you guys think in the comments below, and we'll be back in a few days with another full-length episode. See you then. Oh, and remember, although I do love playing Pathfinder Kingmaker, you can find out more about the game by visiting the official website, the official YouTube channel, the official Discord channel, the fan-run wikis, or the original crowdfunding campaign over on Kickstarter. As always, links are in the description.